Welcome to the Fantasy Football Garage. I'm Chris the Candyman, and tonight you already know what time it is. We're drafting best ball teams, and I've got an extra special guest for you on tonight's stream. We've got JT from JT Best Ball. We're going to get into a 30-second per pick eliminator draft. So jump into it. I'm going to hit enter as soon as I hit the intro. If you're watching this in the future, if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit the like. Check out JT Best Ball. Links in the description. And stay tuned for drafts all best ball summer long. We're going to be ripping them. Best ball manias, eliminators, whatever new contest Underdog drops, you know we're going to be in there. So without further ado, let's hit enter on this 30-second pick clock eliminator. Looks like we're waiting for 7. Come on in, and let's kick it to the intro. But overall, it's like the guy can ball. Like, actions speak louder than words. What's going on, JT?
What's going on, my man? Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. Doing good, better than ever. Just, getting this draft volume in. And I'm excited to have you on. I'm excited to talk some ball with you. I've been watching some of your streams. I like what I'm seeing, man. It's a lot of good stuff going over there, JT Best Ball. So
Appreciate
I'm
it.
this.
You got to update the intro, though, man. How come no CJ and Nico on there?
Oh, that's a good call, actually.
I see you with always have the Texan hat on.
I do. I'm always repping. It's one of my favorites. And this is the exact same hat that CJ and Will Anderson were given when they walked on the stage. It's the 2023 official draft cap. I ordered it before the draft. I knew it was going to be a big year. I did not see that coming, getting the 2nd and the 3rd overall pick. It worked out, the double Rookie of the Year award. Kind of reminds me what the Giants are doing this year with Dart and Abdul Carter. So it seems like a little trend that the Texans started.
Yeah, for sure. Well, if you ever redo it, I know there was I bet you can find it too. There was that one play last year where Nico was on the sideline and he shoved somebody and then he gave him the little that's grown man or workout or weight room or something like that. I forget what he said to the dude. But that'd be pretty cool to put in there.
That's a perfect suggestion. I was just thinking earlier today and actually yesterday too, I might redo the intro, just add a new clip at the beginning, maybe add in 1 or 2 other players. So that's a great suggestion. I'll definitely remember that. I'll probably look into it and see if I can find that clip. But JT, I'm psyched to have you on. I wanted to ask you about your background in the best ball space. I heard you talking a little bit about DK and getting into Underdog. We're still waiting for 2 more people to fill this 30-second eliminator. And I wanted to ask your thoughts, tell me your history about how you got into best ball.
Yeah, so I'm older, man. I'm in my mid 40s, and I've played fantasy in general 20-something years. And
Hell yeah,
I got into DFS. First few years I was into DFS, had no clue what I was doing. Donated like most of us when we first started out. Got pretty good at it, the last few years that I was doing it. And then that leads up to, I guess, about 3 years ago was the first time that I kind of dabbled in best ball a little bit. Didn't play much volume at all. Maybe like $200 on DraftKings or something.
That's like 2023 or 2022.
I guess that would be 2022. 3 best ball seasons ago.
Nice.
And so didn't really do that good. So then that summer I was like, all right, this is fun though. I need to learn. So of course, what anybody does, I got on YouTube, started listening to Pete and Chess Liam and all the guys that are easy to find on there or whatever. So then 2 years ago, it was the first year that I played a lot, and I guess I just kept playing on DraftKings because I came over kind of from DFS, so I was already familiar with their site and everything. Uh, I'm over it now, so I can joke about it. But that first year that I played a lot, I actually had one team go all the way to the finals on
Oh,
DK's
really?
Big Billy one. But unfortunately, my best player in that game was Jamar Chase. That was the year that the game did not happen. And so I
Oh,
also had Dawson Knox on the team too, which I know he's not nothing, but that was pre Kincaid, and he was good for a touchdown every now and then.
no
So
doubt. I
I
think I
like to
heard you
think
mention
what
that
could have
story. I
been, but
feel like you were telling somebody about that recently, and I kind of heard some of this.
yeah, I was when BBG came on my channel. Me and him was
Yeah,
talking about it a little bit,
no
but
doubt.
it is what it is, you know. And so last year, I just kind of stayed with DK. I had really good success the first year that I played a lot on DK. So last year I didn't really do a lot on underdog. I did like a handful of super flex, and I did about 40 eliminators or so, all kind of slow draft or whatever.
Okay.
And so I don't know. When I started, I decided last year at the end of best ball season, I kind of thought about the streaming thing. I was like, you know what? I draft best ball teams every night almost in my office. Why don't I just start streaming? Sounds like fun. I love talking ball with people. But it was at the end of best ball season, so I was like, well, I'll just wait and do it next year. Here
Yeah,
I am.
here you are. That's good stuff. Yeah, it's. I think we have a somewhat similar timeline, kind of getting into best ball. I remember it was 2022 when I downloaded the Dog app, and I was doing cash games, like 10 or whatever it was, 10 or 12 team, probably 12 team, mostly 12 team, $5 entries, $3 entries. Probably did one puppy if I even knew what that was, and then started kind of on with the best ball community. And I started entering best ball manias, doing everything else, weekly winners, whatever it was at the time, a lot of puppies, all that kind of stuff. And started streaming a little bit. Same exact reason. I was drafted anyways. But that was fun to do, and I was obsessed with hanging out in the best ball community. So, which I've always said is the best community in fantasy football. It's the most tight knit. It's the most friendly, in my opinion, and everyone's like really cool to each other and always talking ball, talking strategy. So I've enjoyed that part of it the most. We filled this draft. Nice. We did it. We got a 30-second eliminator filled. When I joined in, I think I saw like 3 or 4 spots go right to the chat. So I'm excited. I see some familiar names for
Nice.
sure. And then yeah, so last year was my first year maxing a lot of different tournaments, maxing Best Ball Mania, and going pretty hard during the summer. This year, just running it back, seeing what I can get into, and then I like to draft PGA Best Ball during the off season of the NFL. So I've been into that for a few seasons now too, and I've had a fun time with that.
Oh yeah. I don't really do any golf or anything like that. During the school year, man, I got two daughters that play club soccer, so my school year
Oh,
is
that's busy.
just at the soccer fields every damn night of the week. Two games on the weekend
Under
generally,
the
but
lights. Yep,
summer's here now. It slows down a little bit.
no doubt. Nick Bach, winning the flex. What's up, brother? Mark Cox, how you doing? What up? Appreciate you being here. Bindles, hola, amigo. My main man, stud. And if you guys haven't heard, on Ballsy this coming week, it's on Bindle's channel. Make sure you're subscribed to Bindle's channel as well. In the description, set notifications for Monday nights at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. Ballsy, and we're having none other than Emo Cowboy on this coming Monday. Gonna be a fun time. JT,
Nice.
of course, holding it down. Sorry for being late, guys, and appreciate y'all being here. Have a keg? Not at the moment. No, I don't have a keg on tap. But yeah, open bar. Yeah, come on in though. Theoretically, yes, there is a keg. If you're here watching, we're in that mindset. We're in that vibe. But yeah, all about it. We're doing good. Yeah, Greyhound looking forward to doing this weekend. I think so too. I'm probably gonna rip the Greyhound in the next 24, 48 hours kind of thing. It's a one and done, so that'll be good. Appreciate you being here, Nick. Hope you're having a great night, brother. In the 8th spot here, right in front of us. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on him, JT. And then we got none other than Mike in the 5 spot. Appreciate you being here. Always appreciate the support and the retweets on Twitter. Hope you're doing good, Mike. We've got Jalapeno Jenkins, who I think might be lurking a bit, or maybe you let me know your name on YouTube. Maybe it's a different name, but or it's just timing wise. But Jalapeno Jenkins has been here drafting with us for a few nights in a row. Hope you're doing great. Thanks everyone for stopping in, saying what up. We got Sean Mitchell in the house, LFG. Thank you. Holding it down. Oh yeah, Gritty in the house. Love it. Let's get it. Let's get it. So this is like it's probably like my 12th eliminator I've done overall, but it's only like my 8th or 9th on my own channel that I've done. So I'm still getting into it. About how many eliminators have you done so far, JT?
Right around 20 or so. I got a couple of slows still going. I want to do a lot of them, man. Like,
Me
I don't
too.
know. The whole, like, yeah, I'm good with Puka.
You think Puka here, or do you have any other preference?
Not really, no. Puka would be the guy I would go with if it was just me doing it for sure right there.
No doubt. So you're 20 in. That's a good amount. I'm trying to catch up a little bit, so I'm excited we could fill one tonight because I think it's a really interesting tournament, and it's a little different. You know, it's the head-to-heads are pretty intimidating, but at the same time, I think it's a really interesting format.
Well, and I just think it's going to be a lot of fun, if I want to have a lot of them because let's get out of the first week. And then if you get one, man, even mid-season or whatever, it's going to start getting real fun watching it every week.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You have a certain way you've been building your teams with the Eliminator? Or?
Not so much different than everything else. I know the ADPs are a bit different. I think my general approach is just to take the best players available to build strong teams, not worry about later in the season correlation, avoid buy overlaps, slightly avoid the earlier buys. I'm open to taking either a Monra or Nico. I know we got some news on a Monra today, but I'm not really too worried about it.
I'm good with either. I would probably go Nico. I just think Nico's a beast myself. Not the fandom or anything. I don't know. I have concerns about the Lions losing. They lost a lot, man, between Ben Johnson. You lose your D coordinator, which I know that doesn't affect the offense. Their center just retired. Golf is golf. I don't know. Amon's good, but I do have a little concerns. He's been a hard click for me this year. I'm not going to lie. I liked him better on DK, too, where it's like, at least you get the full point PPR.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I've been pretty high on the Lions, but there's a lot of things changing, a lot of things in flux, so I think that's pretty sharp to keep in mind. And, of course, I love clicking Nico Collins. Puka Nico was one of my favorite combos for Best Ball Mania last season. I had Nico Collins ranked my, I think, 10th overall player last year. Looked good for a while, and then, with the injuries, kind of sucked. But I was really excited to get different combinations of Nico Collins with every other first-round wide receiver. So like a Puka Nico, I would click that every time.
Okay. I was talking about him at the beginning of my stream last night because I was looking a few days ago, and I don't know, man. I think those rookies we drafted and bringing Kirk in, if you look at what Nico was doing up until the Buffalo game last year when he went out, when Diggs was healthy and Tank was there, but he wasn't the same Tank, let's face it. He never was, I think, really quite the same coming back from his gunshot and injury and all that. But if you look at what Nico was doing the beginning of last year, man, he was on some kind of freaking pace. Then he got hurt in the Buffalo game. By the time he came back, Diggs was out. And late in the year when Tank and Diggs were gone, they were just, doubling him every freaking time, playing him tight with playing him tight with the corner and the safety over the top and stuff. So I think the rookies that they brought in and Kirk in the slot, I could see a really big year for him if that soft tissue stuff doesn't creep up. But we draft like we're right.
It kind of reminds me of Julio Jones, where it's like people started to get fearful that, he's injured, he's got hamstring issue, and then he just dominates. So if Nico's healthy, and you never know, it's NFL, anyone can get hurt at any time. I never like to assume, injuries. So all things equal, Nico Collins is going to be a top 5 receiver in 2025. I can see it.
It's funny what we do, right? Like we'll draft all the backup running backs just like waiting for injuries to happen, but then nope, not our team. We're not getting hurt.
Yeah, yeah. I kind of like this build here from the Mitch 17 in the 10 spot. He goes Derrick Henry and JT. I think there's a lot of nice two running back combos you can get. Whether it's, I mean, I see Saquon and Josh Jacobs here. A lot of times I've seen McCaffrey went fourth overall in this room. I think that's aggressive, but I don't mind it. I've seen a lot of teams with like McCaffrey and JT is a pretty fun combo, just trying to get two guys that could be the running back number one, number two when you need them to be, like, you know, in any given week.
Sean is Mitch 17.
What's that?
I said Sean Mitchell is Mitch 17.
Oh, how did I not know that, John? You know what's crazy is I knew that as soon as I like thought about it, but it's so hard for me to keep track of everyone's names.
Yeah,
I should have.
Well, I was watching. He had old Steve, the Superflex Wiz, on his channel earlier, and I was one of my daughters. I didn't get
a chance to catch that one yet. I stopped by for a second, but I didn't. I got busy at the wrong moment. What are we gonna do with this one? In this eliminators, have you been taking elite QBs or are you pushing QBs?
I've been taking them some. I wouldn't mind Allen here. I probably would go Allen just because I'm not a big JSN guy, and I like Daniels, but I don't really like taking McLaurin that much. Can't go wrong with Josh Allen, right?
Of course. Lamar
two stud receivers.
Yeah, two stud receivers, an elite QB. That's a way I like to play it. You know, usually in any given format, when I take an elite QB, I like to be really strong at receiver and then maybe anchor with a running back, maybe figure it out a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like you're behind when you take an elite QB and an elite tight end, though, I will say. So maybe we can figure something out later with the tight end situation and save ourselves some picks to invest more into these wide receivers and running backs earlier.
For sure. There's a couple running backs, that go like in the fifth who I'm pretty high on. I don't want to say any names. I know we got a lot of friendly faces in the draft with us.
Yeah, watch out. A lot of sharps in here. The waters are warm. They all jumped in. Sean, you know what it is? I'm sick, and I can't think straight. My bad, brother. Yep. I was coming down with something last night, and I streamed a bunch, and I just felt like crap the whole time. And then today I was working through it, but we're here. We're doing great. Excited to be in this one. I mean, Mixon, Chuba, or do you push it to a receiver?
Ted or Hampton. I'm pretty high on Hampton this year. I don't know how you are on him. But if you don't want to go him, I would maybe go.
Let's go Hampton.
Mixon or Chuba or Hampton. I'm good with either one of those three running backs. Your call.
I'm in.
I talked about him last night too on stream. It's like Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman. They got the guy in the first round. I mean, just just the type of runner he is. I mean, I could see Harbaugh just like I said on stream last night. Harbaugh's having some wet dreams over him, but
yeah, I was super high on Hampton during the big board season. He gets drafted to the Chargers. I think it's a great landing spot. But for some reason, I haven't been clicking him as often in the fourth round. I don't know what it is, but I think he's very talented, and I think he could definitely pay off as a rookie. So in this format, some people tend to fade the rookies slightly. I don't know if that's a good play in the eliminator. Maybe the mid to late rookies where they have to earn a role. Like I could think of, just some easy names. Maybe it's Kyle Williams. Maybe it's Jalen Noel, or it could be the later guys. Maybe some of these tight ends, rookie tight ends. Maybe they have to, after you get past like a Warren or a Loveland. Some of those guys might be earning a role, earning snaps. But with an Omari and Hampton, he is going to be getting a lot of work. Probably at least 12 touches every game, right from the get-go. Maybe 15. Who knows?
No, I totally agree. What's the stat that everyone likes throwing out there? Najee's not had any runs over like 23 or 25. It's some crazy number that you would think, wow, really, an NFL running back never had a run longer than that? But it's not going to take him long, I don't think, to kind of lock down that main role.
I think so, too. I was hard fading Najee after Hampton landed there. I had a good amount of nausea, or a decent amount of nausea, during the big board before he was even on the Chargers, I think. And then he's on the Chargers. His price rose up a bunch, and then Hampton gets drafted there. He kind of falls back down. I remember that was kind of how the flow was going. I'm not completely out on Najee. I think like there's a point in the draft where if you're not taking one of the QBs in those middle rounds, the receivers kind of dry up, and then there's some decent picks at running back. And if you're not going tight end there either, it's like you don't, if you're taking Najee Harris versus, I don't know, like a Keon Coleman, it's kind of obvious, which one has just a higher floor in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. I definitely agree with that. I've been clicking him a lot in almost any format, to be honest with you. I need to look at my percentages. I don't really look at my percentages much. I talk about it all the time. I guess I call it vibes based or whatever, but
Yep.
I'm definitely willing to live and die. Some years it's going to hurt me. Some years, if I'm right about a lot of my guys and I have high percentages on them, we're going to have a really awesome year. I put a lot of work into it in the off season, watching film and all that stuff. So it's not like I'm just like going on whims or anything.
No doubt. No doubt. Yeah, I like to do reviews every once in a while. I'm pretty much due up for a portfolio review of my best ball mania teams, but in general, I do the same thing. I feel like I keep my ranks pretty fluid. I don't actually have set ranks for the eliminator in this format, but in like the traditional formats like Best Ball Mania, I update my ranks almost every day, probably just with the news and everything that goes on. How are you feeling for this pick? What do you think we're due for? Devonta
If
Smith's
it's
on a
me
nice value.
here, if it's me here, we can go Smith. Walker would be the click for me. Walker is another one of those running backs I'm just super high on this year.
Yeah, I like it.
I talked about it a few nights ago. So I went back and watched some 2023 film on him because when Waldron was there, Waldron kind of comes from the Coob Shanahan system or whatever. And when I was watching a lot of 2023 film on Walker, like if you watch like whole games at a time of him, I mean, I think he could have a big year in Coop's system because you'll see where, like, early in the game, they were getting him to the outside and he was so dang quick that as the game went on, he would just bust some really big runs, man, right up the middle on those cutbacks in the zone scheme. So,
Right.
I don't know. I started a lot of my running back rooms with Hampton and Walker, to be honest with you.
I like it. I think it's a good way to start. We got two stud receivers, like you said, two alphas, the elite QB, Omari and Hampton, Kenneth Walker. What can we get into here? By ADP, it might be one of these, receivers. It could be a guy like Addison, Judy, or Lave. Henderson, of course, is there. How you feeling?
I'm not super high on Henderson. I would probably go Olave.
Yeah.
I mean, he's healthy right now. I heard BBG say that the other day. I think it was him that, like, we know he's practicing now, so he clearly doesn't have a concussion right now anymore. And hopefully that'll all be a thing of the past. And we were drafting the guy, in the second round last year? And
No
now we
doubt.
can get him in the sixth. Seems okay.
I'm into it. If you would have told me in any season before the current one, you could travel back in time to 2024, 2023, and you tried to convince me, or if I tried to convince myself to draft Jawan Jennings over Chris Olave, I would never in a million years do it. So I've been saying that to some people because I see Jawan Jennings and like I'm definitely drafting him, but at the same time, how could you convince your past self to take him over Chris Olave? I don't think it'd be possible.
That is totally accurate. Totally accurate. And that's what him and Waddle. It's like we were taking both of those guys in the second round last year, and because
I
they
know.
had down years and banged up, neither one of them is coming off, anything major like a, ACL or MCL or ACL or something where we expect them to be slow coming out the gate even. I don't know. Both of them seem like really good picks in the fifth and sixth round to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely not out on Waddle. I've had a slight fade on the Dolphins. I don't know. I've moved them back up my ranks a little bit. Like I said, I'm very open to moving my player takes around and my rankings around and things like that. So I don't want to be completely out on the Dolphins. I like Achan the most, and then Hill. I'm starting to worry if he's fallen off a little bit. I've always liked picking Hill in fantasy for as long as I can remember. For a good amount of time. Waddle, I've also been pretty in on the past couple years, so I think he could probably bounce back. It's a lot of things last year. The Dolphins were pretty fragile without Tua, right? And the situation just kind of crumbled a little bit. Maybe they do a little better, but yeah, that's just one team. Probably one of the teams that I'm in general slightly fading, but I don't want to be out on them all the way.
See, I think I'm kind of opposite. I mean, I get it. There is definitely concern there, but I don't know. I could definitely see a world too where if Tua's healthy and Tyreek's head is somewhat screwed on straight this year, like 2 years ago they were an amazing offense that we wanted every part of, and because they had a down year and Tua's concussion issues, they're not heavy targets. I agree with you that Achan is my favorite of them to take. And probably if I went and looked at my exposures, I'm not super high on any of them, but as a team, they're definitely guys I want a part of. And in the other formats, playing Tampa, it's a nice little matchup too, week 17.
I do like that one. I think it's in Miami, right? So
Yeah.
let's say we make the Best Ball Mania finals or the Eliminator finals. I wouldn't mind going down a little weekend trip to Miami and sweating it out in person.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess we could do Shakir because of the stack. I'm pretty low on Shakir. I don't think he's that great in half-point PPR. Are there any other picks here you would lean towards?
Not really. I would either, unless you wanted to make a detour for Hawkinson. I like Hawkinson a lot, but if we don't go tight end, which I'm okay not, then I would get Shakir just because we have Allen or Hawkinson. Like I said,
Probably smart for this one. I'm open to it. If I don't have Josh Allen on my team, I almost never draft Shakir, but I'm happy to do it when it makes sense. I just feel like he has kind of like a limited ceiling, and it felt like, to me at least, the Bills were really spreading the ball around last year, and the touchdowns just seemed to all go to either Cook or Josh Allen, and we're looking for those touchdowns. But I think a lot of the players in this range are kind of in a similar tier. It would have been nice to get maybe Hawk on the comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Got any favorites in this range?
Not really. Probably one of the three running backs that's up there. I'm not really. I don't know. Robinson, he has touchdown upside. Warren, maybe earlier in the year, plays more than the rookie. It's up to you. It's your call. I would say either Warren or Mason.
Yeah, I'm good
There
with
you
them
go.
both.
I'm good with Warren.
Mason, I'm really in on him, but I'm happy to sprinkle in some Warren. I only kind of worry that he's got like 6 career touchdowns. He's never really lived up to the hype. I've been in on him like every year, and it just seems like a disappointment every time. But I did kind of hear some counter arguments lately. I think it was Justin Herzig was talking on an ETR pod recently that they're a little bit higher on Jalen Warren because just the historical hit rates on third-round running backs is about 20%. So, I think Caleb Johnson can be something. I think it can be good. But if you rationalize it from just a historical kind of statistic kind of view, it's probably likely that Caleb Johnson might come on stronger in year 2 or year 3, and maybe it's Jalen Warren's year to shine. So I don't mind in an ambiguous backfield situation. Even though they've got the rookie, we've made our stronger bet on Hampton being, that first-round rookie who really takes over, and let's get a veteran here who
Yeah. I mean, if Hampton does start out a little slow, hopefully Warren picks up the slack. With the Rodgers news today finally being official, I mean, the guy doesn't move much at all anymore, so Warren's going to be in there for the dump-offs probably. So,
Yep. Yeah, do you think the Steelers players are all going to move up around?
I don't know. Like, I hope not, because I've kind of been drafted. If they do, I'll slow down. I've been taking a fair amount of Metcalf because it was a bet that I was willing to make that either the Steelers were going to sign Rodgers, or I thought that if they didn't sign Rodgers, they would probably go out and get Cousins. And so either way, Metcalf would have a decent quarterback who's a veteran, targeted him with a lot of passes. So,
Right.
I mean, they don't really. And I like Firemouth too.
Me too. Yeah, I've been drafting a good amount of DK, a good amount of Freiermuth. Uh, it's probably the Pittsburgh running backs that I'm just slightly underweight on. But I did move. I moved Rodgers up a considerable amount. I've got him ranked pretty high, pretty aggressively against ADP right now. I moved. I don't know if I moved DK up. I think I moved him up a couple spots. I moved Calvin Austin up a few spots, and then I've moved Warren up a few spots, kind of even before the Rodgers news. And then I moved up a couple spots. So I kind of moved all the Steelers up just a little bit, assuming the ADP is going to rise, but also just because I think with the fact that Rodgers is going to play there this year, it settles some of the uncertainty where I was kind of hedging that he might retire or he might not go there.
Yeah. They probably will move up a little bit. We always like to double count things in best ball world.
100%. You know it. That's the fact. That's the one constant is that we always double count in best ball. The market always overreacts. Yeah, what up, Putt Daddy? I think that's a great point. Don't worry about exposures. Just take the right player on the right team that fits. I think that's a good way to go with it. And then
that is totally how I live my drafts.
So, like that one. Back on the clock. Got a boo there. Higgins, we could double stack it up.
I wouldn't mind that. It is an eliminator. It could pay off nice though, and I don't like.
It's a little bit scary, but I guess it's not the worst thing. What do you think?
Let's see. We don't have any other receivers though with the week 6 bye, so
take Higgins here.
Yeah. Unless there's somebody else you like, it's kind of. I don't really like much in this range, to be honest with you. I'd rather double stack Higgins and double stack Allen, just because Allen does do a lot with his legs. Maybe we can get CJ to fall kind of nice for us and just do him as our second QB and be done at QB. I don't know.
That makes sense to me. It's easier to push CJ back to pick, 129, 136 kind of range when we also took Higgins because people don't want to take naked CJ Stroud, that's for sure, especially with the recent shoulder injury news. And then who else had the shoulder injury? I guess it was Anthony Richardson today. That doesn't look too good for him, does it?
No, that doesn't. As a matter of fact, I was somewhere where I had some time to kill today, and I drafted 2 Superflex teams purposely to draft Daniel Jones. I pushed QB more than I normally would in it, and then instead of waiting until Jones's ADP, I took him like in the 80s or so because he'll move up there really quick at least, or not more.
Do you have a favorite pick on this one? I'm kind of leaning Andrews.
Yeah, let's go Andrews. I'm definitely still in on Andrews. He had that Pollard injury, which is also why I don't like Pacheco much this year. Right. But if you look at the second half of his year, I think he finished with like a touchdown in like 7 of his last 8 games or something like that. Yeah. Seems pretty good.
After we missed out on Hawkinson, I kind of felt like there's not that big of a difference in my mind between Hawkinson and Andrews. Maybe Hawkinson's a little bit younger, but both good offenses. Hawkinson coming off the injury, Mark Andrews coming off some injury, so they've got a similar spot, and it felt nice to get Andrews at 112, and we probably would have taken Hawkinson at 88. So it's kind of a 2-round. We got to get Warren and Higgins in between.
I like it so far. What's our running backs look like as far as bye weeks? Do we have any running back bye week overlaps? I don't have the bye weeks memorized. No, we're good. 12, 8.
1. We got Josh Allen, Omarion Hampton, Kenneth Walker, and Jalen Warren. The only thing about our running backs is the week 5 bye is a little early, but we'd be pretty lucky based on the math just to make it to week 5 in these eliminators, right?
Yeah.
In week 1, to get to week 5 is already a big task statistically, so we probably don't want to have too many more running backs for the week 5 bye just in case we do get there. And then knowing that we've got the Ravens and the Bills with the week 7 bye, we probably don't want to go too much harder on those teams.
Mm-hmm.
They're the only two teams with the week 7 bye, but there's probably 3 key pieces of our team right now. Our number 1 tight end, QB, and then I guess we could do without Shakir. It's not our wide receivers are very strong without him.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the flip side is we've got 2 wide receivers with the week 6 bye, so we're going to want some depth there too, just so we don't bottom out one week. If we make
And they'll kind of help each other though, because I don't think we had any running backs off on 6, right?
Yeah, that's
no
a good
5,
point.
8, and
No
12.
week 6 and no week 7, so they can hit the flex during those weeks, no doubt. Yeah, I like this one.
In the regular format, I don't really worry too much at all about bye weeks. Maybe if it's a 2-quarterback build or something, but the eliminator, I do try to pay attention to it.
Yeah, you just don't want to bottom out any given week and put up 88 and your opponent puts up 90 and you're like,
Yeah,
I really
yeah.
could have easily won this, but I screwed myself on the bye. I mean, imagine getting a team all the way to like week 12 or like 14 and then you're screwed with buys. Maybe at that point you don't mind it because it's so impossibly hard to get there anyways. But I guess week 8 is the one everyone's concerned about because there's 6 teams on bye in week 8. So a lot of teams are going to suffer that week.
I did build one not too long ago, and I forgot who the 2 quarterbacks was. It was one of the first ones I did, though, and like I wasn't paying attention. I guess let's get through this pick first.
Sure.
We might even be able to push him around again. You in on Loveland? I think Loveland might start kind of slow, though, too.
He could. I definitely like him. I think he fits really nice with their offense. They spent a first-round pick on him. Would you rather go Ray Davis and match him up with the Bills, or go the opposite, go blue?
Let's go Davis. I am not a blue guy at all.
Okay.
Like I like Ray Davis, though. You know, it works out. Maybe if it's a week that Allen doesn't put up a ton of points, maybe we get lucky and Davis got a touchdown or 2 or something. He catches passes some.
And maybe James Cook holds out. Maybe Ray Davis just has a bigger role this year anyways, regardless. So I've been excited to click Ray Davis. I mean, that's a little bit early compared to the normal format, but here it's not that crazy to take him at the end of round 11.
Mm-hmm. And I like Loveland still in the regular formats, but it is starting to concern me a little bit that they don't know exactly at what point in camp he's going to be ready to go with his shoulder injury and being a rookie. And in the eliminator, it does kind of, I guess, worry me a little bit.
He has an early bye week, so maybe they slow play him. Maybe they play him in like half the snaps to start. Maybe it's Komet for a while, and then maybe he comes on strong the second half. Who knows? But I like that sentiment. I have been drafting a ton, as you can see, a ton of Colston Loveland in Best Ball Mania. I've got a bunch of them. I think we grabbed CJ here, and we're feeling
pretty. I mean, we got the double stack set up. We got him at a nice little, not a huge discount, but a little discount.
Yeah, anything. It doesn't hurt. We end up getting Ray Davis, so we get a plus pick there. Although, looks like maybe we could have gotten Ray Davis. Either way, we flip-flopped the picks. It feels good. We're off to a strong start, and I'm liking this build. I saw Fantasy Dog jumped in here. Number 13, appreciate you, my man. Hope you're having a great Thursday night. Hope your week's going good. And yeah, everyone, make sure you hit the like. Don't forget on your way in. Help your boy out. Appreciate you.
Smash that like for my man.
Smash that motherfucking like button. Both. Okay, that a bunch of good takes in here. Both Pitt running backs will be good. Yeah, totally. It's definitely going to be a year of shared backfields. Feels like it, at least.
So are you in on Blue then? I saw you had him started a minute ago. He's a guy, I'm not going to lie, I have a hard time clicking, even with the uncertainty of their backfield. I don't know.
I'm pretty cautious about him. I've only drafted him once in Best Ball Mania. I had bags of him in the big board. I have 20% blue in the big board where he was going pick 200, he was going undrafted, all that kind of stuff. But now I think his price in Best Ball Mania, at least, pretty expensive. So if I have the right team build, I'll consider taking him there. If I have a Cowboys stat going on, or maybe some Commanders, and I've already built out my other positions pretty well. But generally, in rounds 11, 12, even round 10, I'm looking for QBs and tight ends. I'm not really looking for running backs as often. I'm usually looking for running backs in this kind of 140 to maybe 55 range. And so Blue's gone by then. If he falls into that range, I'll take him. But I've been taking a lot more Algier, Eckler, like Ray Davis, Spears, some of these Rashad White, some of the guys that are going to
Okay.
be
Yeah,
later.
I like a lot of those guys now too myself. I don't know, when Baxter got hurt at Texas last year, he was supposed
Yeah.
to be the guy, but then like the other dude kind of came out of nowhere and just took the job, and he wasn't even thought of as a high prospect. It's like I think he'll have a good game here or there, and I think the Cowboys will use him kind of like Texas did as a change of pace, like, catch some passes out of the backfield, try to get him on the edge for some explosive plays or something. But I don't know. He's just a hard click where he goes for me.
We could take a receiver with Palmer, stack him up with our QB. We don't have to. We could go back to the running backs. I like Eckler, I like Garindo.
I would go running back, and for an eliminator myself, I would probably go Eckler. I mean,
Yeah.
I, I think if CMC's healthy, then especially early in the year, we're probably not going to get much use out of Garindo. Now, I would probably lean maybe more Garindo if it was, like a regular style format where if CMC does get banged up, then he could be a smash play or something. But
Yeah, I like the Eckler pick. I've been taking a bunch of them, and I think he's just still a good pass catching back. It's a great offense, so if he can have a healthier season than last year, he sticks around, plays a bunch more games.
he has a late bye, too. I think
Yeah.
it's like 12 or something like that.
Yep. Week 12 should be pretty good there. So cover some of our earlier buys with like Warren, maybe Ray Davis. Even if we get to week 12, I think every team is going to be so random. The teams that have made it through the cheese grater all the way down, down the river to week 12. I forget how many teams are left then, but it's like 1,000 teams are left. It's like no one's left by then.
I tell you who I like here. I wouldn't go Palmer myself. If you want Dobbs, we can go Dobbs. Or honestly, I know a lot of people aren't in on him, but Leggett's actually one of my favorite Spike Week guys in this range here. I don't know if you're in on him or not this year.
I'm open to it. Yeah,
I know he had a horrible year last year, but I just feel like, if Ted is as good as we think Ted could be, then that's going to take so much pressure off of it, whereas Leggett can just be the big, fast guy trying to make plays downfield against one-on-one coverage or, in open spots. And I don't think he'll be a guy where you're going to get consistent, usable weeks out of him, but I think you could get some really nice spike weeks out of him.
you'll never have to convince me to take a year 2 wide receiver at pick 160. Easy click. Easy click. I mean,
Yeah.
every point you made is very fair and valid. It's when you ask me to take a guy like Ricky Pearsall, who had more 0-point weeks than he did, weeks to hit your lineup last season at pick 70. That's when I start to question. It's when you ask me to take a guy like Roma Dunze, who had, averaged about 6.5 points per game at pick 65 over Alvin Kamara. That's when I start to question things. But Leggett at pick 160, I'm in every time. That's easy.
Hey, but Rome's looking good in camp, they say.
Yeah, he's always looked real good. It's funny. He doesn't look so good without Michael Penix Jr. floating his boat.
No, I know. I haven't taken a ton of him. I don't know what to do with the Bears because I like Ben Johnson, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Caleb.
Well, you heard about DJ Moore. He's being you saw some of what he did last year, the antics, the pouting on the field, the pointing fingers at Caleb Williams, not helping the quarterback develop. DJ Moore is being a drama queen in all the wrong ways as a receiver on that team, not being a true leader. I think that, it's pretty damning to me if your team drafts a receiver with a lot of draft capital and a tight end in the first round. You're trying to spread the target somewhere else pretty clearly.
I wish before Burden got the soft tissue stuff, he was probably my favorite of the 3 to take. I've kind of chilled for a little bit till we get to camp and see, okay, is this really nothing or could it possibly be something? But yeah, and then that whole team could end up being really good or just a big mess. You got Caleb's dad putting out the stuff a couple weeks ago about didn't want to go to the Bears and Bears are where quarterbacks go to die.
mean, what are you going to do? Dads will be dads. Getting in the way at the wrong times, trying to kill his earning potential. I don't know what that kind of move was. I would keep that tight-lipped. I would not
Right?
go
I
out.
mean, what's the
Calvin
point
Austin.
now going into year 2?
Yeah. Look at this. Calvin Austin going pick 171. Somebody's high on Aaron Rodgers. I wonder if he'll take him pretty soon.
Very possible.
I mean, I don't think it's crazy you start seeing the Pittsburgh Steelers pieces rising up, but 171 for Calvin Austin, a little bit. I mean, it's about a round or two richer than I would expect.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Wanted to answer Putt Daddy's question here. Does Lazard follow his QB to Pitt, and does it matter? I don't know. Maybe, but yeah. People have definitely been asking. I don't know. I don't have a good insight there.
There's been a bunch of funny, little memes and stuff on Twitter today about Lazard packing his bags and heading there.
We could do a receiver here. We could, maybe do a one final running back, or we could push it off. Are you a Dobbins guy? Do you want to take another receiver?
When is the Broncos bye week? Do you know off the top of your? I know you're the bye week guy. You had them memorized.
Broncos is week 12.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go with JK. I think he's going to end up going there. If so, he could be the goal line back.
Yeah,
we kind of getting to that point where all of my favorite backup running backs are gone anyway, so why not?
Sure, and it's we can kind of end early on the running backs. We've got some strong veterans mixed in with the rookie upside. The week 12 is going to be the Broncos, the Chargers, the Commanders, and the Dolphins. So we don't have too much overlap there. Just the Chargers and the Commanders. But if this team gets to week 12, I mean, you're not really worried about your buys anymore. You're just trying to flip a coin and get lucky. I think even with these three running backs, we'd be fine. Start two, maybe flex the other one. And then we don't have any receivers on week 12 buy, so we're probably going to flex like a Olave, or not Olave, Higgins or Shakir. So I think we're good. We probably are going to stop at 2 QBs, but is there any QB you could imagine taking later? Like, would you take a Shuck just for the upside with Colin or Olave? I mean,
potentially, if there's nothing else we like once it gets to him,
there much later.
I would probably go. I'm good with either one of those. Slayton is definitely an eliminator ass pick. I just commented that on Sean's stream earlier. We could. I'm not a huge Otten guy. There's some tight ends a little later that I like. I would go Slayton or Bryant. Both of those guys are good. Yeah. Bryant might start a little slow though. He's another guy who I love Bryant in the regular formats for
no doubt.
His late season possibility, but with being a rookie, he could start a little slow. They do have Sutton there, and Mims will still be involved, and Ingram too. Ingram's a good tight end, and Peyton's been known to use his tight ends a little bit in the past. So there's some mouths to feed.
I've been pretty in on Pat Bryant, but in this format, in this range, pick your guy. Why not Slayton? Mix it up.
That guy that took Austin just took Richardson.
That's weird.
I wonder if he hasn't seen the news.
I feel like he's drafting off ADP, except he was grabbing some names that he liked, maybe like Austin. I don't know. That's interesting. It seems like he is drafting off ADP just because he takes Dalton Schultz there. Gritty has been taking a bunch of late running backs. He took a bunch of middle QBs, and he started off with all receivers. Receivers. Yeah, that's 5. A really strong build there with the Dak, Pickens. He's got Caleb with not 100% sure there, but then Kyler. He's just taking a bunch of obviously Kyler and Marvin Harrison, so there he has the connection, and then just a bunch
back to running back. There.
We got a 2-6-7-1. We probably want to take a tight end before it gets a little dicier. I like Juwan Johnson. I don't mind Chig Okonkwo. Do you have any favorite picks in this round?
I like both of them. We could go with Johnson just for the team correlation. The bye week's late enough that I'm okay having Olave and Johnson. No one else is really on 11, I think.
No doubt. And I do think that Johnson and Olave I mean, obviously Shahid's there too, but it's going to be maybe more consolidated. Uh, who knows? I mean, it could just be a very consolidated offense.
That's why I passed on Auden, or I wanted to pass on Auden last time. In a nutshell, I like Chig and Johnson over Auden myself. But who Hames? Our teams do not get injured, only other teams.
That's right. We've picked the team where all the players are going to do their ceiling outcomes. We're going to make it through. Wandale, Wandale is hashtag not that approved. Don't even try to convince me on Wandale. Yeah, I think I heard this too. The foot injury and just some things, and maybe he takes an extra season to adjust to the NFL. Yeah, I think I'm not totally out on Leggett though. He's going so cheap, but I know what you're saying. Coker's a good value late too. I mean, we've got 7 receivers. We feel really good about them. We could be done there. We've already got the 6 running backs, so it's our last pick. We could take Shuck. We've got the double stack. I think that's kind of interesting in an eliminator format. I don't mind it as much as a best ball mania. I'd probably want to stick with the 2. How do you feel about this?
Let's see what tight ends are out there. No, you know what? Let's go Shuck. You never know. If he gets the starting job, they're going to be trailing in some games, and he's going to have to throw the ball around, and they play in a dome. We got 2 pass catchers from him.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Put him
I
on
think
there.
it makes a little bit of sense. QBs, especially the younger ones, can just scramble a little bit higher than expected, and maybe he gets a rushing touchdown, throws one to Olave and or Johnson, and hits the lineup in week 6 or 7. And
I was just about to say we're going to have that 6 and 7 bye week for Allen and CJ. So if he does have the job, at least we'll have 2 options to work with on both of those weeks.
Yeah. And it's round 18. Anything goes at that point. I have some level of confidence that they will start Tyler Shuck, and he will be playing in week 6 and 7 versus a Spencer Rattler. I think they saw enough of Spencer Rattler the end of last season on those kind of test runs, and I don't know. I think if I'm reading into the tea leaves a little bit, I think Shuck has already kind of won over the Saints organization, and they're looking forward to seeing what he's got. So unless he completely flops right out the gate, I think we're good for those early games.
I've definitely been drafting a decent amount of Shuck. I like him a lot too. If even on teams where maybe I don't get Olave, but then I take Shaheed because he's got a nice deep ball, man. If you watch like some of Shuck's highlights from last year, he's got some really nice touch on his deep ball, which obviously that's kind of shit where Shaheed succeeds the most at is kind of downfield.
I think Shaheed's really talented, and I want to get more of him. I moved him up in my ranks lately too, so that's a fun point to think about. Kind of a good one. Let me catch up. Thad is going off on these receivers. Pearsall had to heal from a gunshot. He heated up late. I mean, those are both true statements, but also he's not very good. Dunze is the one. Swing and a miss again. Go for two, Dad. Lazard was the only one looking good with Rodgers last year. That's kind of true. All right. I mean, I'm listening. If he goes to pit with Rodgers, the Muth is dead. Because you're thinking more of like the touchdown upside, or just kind of like, would that be like the short, intermediate targets? I'm not sure. What up, Hartman? How you doing, brother? What's good? Wandale broke out at age 18 as a PPR monster. But Dad, you said it right there. We're playing in a half PPR format. Wandale Robinson had 140 targets and didn't break 1,000 yards. Didn't have that many touchdowns. I'm out. I'm out. Give me Thielen over Ricky P. Ooh, Nick Bach knows how to get me excited. Yeah. Yeah. I don't hate it. There's a proven track record there. Might sound crazy, but it could be, 2026. Pearsall, Odunze could be things of the past, just move on and forget. There's already so many prolific wide receivers in that draft class. How many more are going to step up? There's always going to be guys who don't make it, and the The sooner you come around to that idea, I think the better. But I'm happy to be proven wrong. I want all these guys to succeed. I think it's fun if they do. But I don't know. I feel like people are a little bit over obsessed with the Dunze, in my opinion. And then Pearsall's the easy one because, I mean, just look at the Google trend on his name. He's like one of the most popular players last year and didn't really do much. If he wouldn't have hit in week 17 the way he did for best ball, no one would even be excited about him.
No one would care.
And then Adunze, I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like dynasty brain or what's going on, but the dude did. He had what, maybe 1-2 spike weeks. He had some redeeming weeks, but so did
and they weren't
Noah
even
Brown a
massive
couple years ago.
weeks.
There's so many veterans that do that every single year, and no one ever drafts them. So I don't see how that separates. It'd be a huge step forward for Adunze and the Bears offense. Like, I think they're already all priced at their ceiling, except for maybe Swift because they didn't draft a running back really. And then, but there was a little bit of coach speak about Kyle Monangai I saw come out today, which, I mean, it's a that's kind of like really far off. I don't know if he's even draftable.
Well, I think people are still willing to give a Roman Pearsall a chance because they have the draft capital that they're at least going to have a chance to start the year and show that it can be different in year 2. Whether or not they do anything with it,
yeah,
we'll see.
That's a good point. There is draft capital for Pearsall and for Rome, so I just think I like to keep grounded and taking veterans who have done it before. I feel like a lot of time we assume these second-year guys will just continue to trend upwards on some projection, when in reality, Rome Odunze could have a worse year this coming year. What if he has 500 yards and no touchdowns? Like, that's possible. It might sound crazy, but who knows what could happen. I mean, players go up and down after every season. It's not always all straight up, but typically, yeah, the younger guys obviously do tend to progress if they're any good.
Now, speaking on the veterans and kind of, I guess, the Bears all in a nutshell,
yeah.
Where are you at on Allen? Because he's a guy, so, I said I'm not afraid of my takes and I'm not afraid of my exposures. Like, I'll live and die with what I think. But I'm always trying to, like, reevaluate, especially guys I'm either really in on or really out on. And it's like, I wish some more news would come out on Keenan because I keep clicking him a whole lot still because I think he's going to play football. And let's face it, he was the best receiver in that room last year and still put up a whole bunch of really good usable weeks. And the area that he's going in the draft, like, nobody else can really touch. None of the other receivers going where Allen is going will produce like Allen will produce. So he's been one of my favorite clicks still. It is starting to concern me a little bit that we haven't heard any more rumors since the I want to play for the Chargers or Bears because he's clearly not going to probably play for the Chargers or Bears. I don't know.
It's interesting. I've been going back and forth. About 3 or 4 days ago, I moved Allen up from, let's just pretend he's going around 190 or 180, 5 kind of range. I moved him up to maybe around 15 range for a day or two, and I didn't like it. I moved him back down to kind of this range. I've been looking into these veterans. I think of guys like Allen, Amari Cooper, also unsigned, also kind of fell off, whether it's injuries. I mean, Keenan Allen played almost every game or maybe even did play every game last season. So for him, we could definitely look into that. But I'm starting to lean that he might retire. He's been in the league for such a long time, and I mean, maybe he still signs, maybe he still wants to play, maybe he just calls it quits. So that's my only fear. I'll wait until he lands somewhere to keep drafting him more, but until he does, I'm really cautious that I don't want to be drafting a ton of a guy who could just end up retiring. I think back to the year, it was like Devontae Parker retired out of nowhere. I probably had like 5 or 6% of him. He was going real late, and that was kind of surprising and kind of, I don't want to do that again. But if we look at Keenan Allen, I think he played every game not every game. He played almost every game. He did get a bunch of targets, but he started to fall off, based on his historical point production. Obviously did great in 2023, but he almost played he played as much games as he ever does, and he put up 12 fantasy points per game compared to 21, 16, 17 in the past. So at his
No, no,
age,
no. I agree, but you also have to, or at least for me, I take into account one where he was at. There was DJ Moore there. There was the rookie that they were trying to get involved, and the offense in general was just kind of a mess. And
yeah,
then his price, though, where he's going, I guess part of why I've been drafting him is because I feel like depending on where he signs or if he signs, he's going to go way up the board instantly almost. And
yeah,
so that's kind of my thing is, well, I want to get enough of him now that like if he flies up to a price that I don't necessarily like him at, then I can just, all right, I'm good. I got me a bunch of him when he was in the, late 17th round or whatever.
that's a good point because he was going in like what the end of the third, fourth, going in like the fourth round last year, so he was very expensive relative to where he's going now. I think though, and I'll keep arguing the other side just for fun, but I do like your point too, and I'm still open to it. If he lands somewhere, I think it will obviously rise. Like we've been saying that since the big board, but we're waiting on it. But if I play kind of devil's advocate on the other side, um, the market or like the rest of the drafters have priced him in the 17th or of the 16th round after he went in like the third, fourth round last year. That's just like a signal that he might just be done. I like I said, I'll say again, if he retires, then you're gonna wish you had drafted anyone else but him. And I think though also what you're saying, like the Bears were just kind of down in general. That's a good point too. So that kind of leads me back into okay, maybe Allen could get in a better situation. We'll take a look at the other Bears players in a second. The one thing, so I'll ask, do you have a favorite landing spot for Keenan Allen, or do you
I,
have a
I was just about to say my favorite team to click him on because just the way the board works, there's a lot of other guys that I take over Garrett Wilson, even though I try to get more Garrett Wilson because I like to get a lot of fields. If I don't have Wilson, I love throwing Keenan Allen on the end of a Fields team because I see the Jets being like one of the spots that would just kind of be a smash spot for him. They don't really have a receiver two. The
right?
receiver two that's technically on the roster, everybody is saying it's going to pack his bags and go play with Rodgers over
Right.
in Pittsburgh. So yeah, that's probably I guess for all of my Keenan teams. I'm kind of hoping because I know probably at least half of the teams I drafted Allen on probably just were Fields teams.
Okay. I like that take too. That makes sense if you're trying to potentially like, predict where he goes and then correlate him that way. That's kind of interesting. If let's imagine that Keenan Allen signs with the Jets tomorrow, do you have off the top of your head a thought of like where he might end up going around?
I mean, I could easily see him where you're at kind of right now and maybe that
Like
12th
Thielen?
round. I don't think he'd probably push up over like the young guy like Burden or Trey Harris or any of
Right.
those in the 11th. But I could easily see, I would take him over old man Allen. I'm not in on Bish. I'd probably take Kirk over him still.
But kind of that
Because
range, like around 12, around 13 at the
yeah,
latest,
maybe
I
end
think.
of round 12, early round 13 is where I could ideally see him going up to. And I wouldn't love his price then. And so that's kind of been my thing is like, all right, whatever. We're going to have 17th and 18th round picks that don't make our lineup or zeros anyway. So
Sure.
I'd rather take a chance. But I have slowed down, I'll say. In the last week, I've slowed down on him just because, yeah, the longer that it goes on, I totally hear the other side of it. And I honestly, when a month ago, figured he'd be signed somewhere by now. But
I know. I
as
kind of thought he
quiet
would
as it's
too.
been, it is starting to get a little concerning to me.
Yeah. What up, Chris B? How you doing, brother? Hope you're having a great night. Appreciate you stopping by with the kind words as always. And Mark Cox, Allen maybe lost a step, but got the good hands. I would agree. I think he's always had good hands. He's always been a guy that doesn't beat you with speed. He beats you with his route running, with his football IQ, being in the right place, the right time. Good hands. Keenan's free. Please don't draft him. Yeah, Thad just wants to keep the price down. Yeah. So let's. I'm curious because now I'm interested to think of like how much could he pay off, even if we said so. I mean, round 17, he usually in like best ball manias goes. I don't even know what his ADP is, but it's probably round 16 or 17. Is that fair?
somewhere right in there. Yeah, I think he's like 170 something. I don't know. I don't have every ADP memorized. I just know
Okay.
general areas.
If we just kind of pinned him at, I'll just call him pick 185. Let's say that's a fit because this eliminator, I think he goes a little bit later just because the uncertainty.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's the reason why, or maybe he just fell. But if we just called him at like pick 185, and we think he could rise up to, let's just say 140, seems fair.
Mm-hmm.
Is it kind of what you were
Yeah.
thinking? So I'm curious. I don't know the answer, but one, and sorry for the brightness. One, where do we need to go here? Ref. Here we go. So this is from ETR. It's like the draft capital curve.
Mm-hmm.
And I like to look up, like if I pick a player at pick 30 who has an ADP of 21, I like to, so I got a player here at pick 30. He typically goes at pick 21. So I just picked up, about 8 percentage points in draft capital where 100% is the price of a Jamar Chase. So it'd be like, I got like 8% of a Jamar Chase by a player falling in ADP value. So that's kind of how I think about the curve. If we do the opposite where it's like a player can move up, it's like how much value can you gain if you draft a player today and then he rises. If we go all the way down to pick 185, it really starts to flatten out down here. But
Mm-hmm.
about 185 is worth about a 6.4% of a Jamar Chase. And then if that goes all the way up to pick 140, it's a 12.1. So we're really only gaining, what is that, 6 to 12? We're gaining like 6% draft capital, but then the risk if he retires is also about 6%. So that's kind of interesting because I would have thought, maybe you could gain a little bit more out of him.
Hmm.
He would have to rise all the way to like pick, somewhere in here, like pick 130 to start
Mm-hmm.
to give you a huge advantage. So I think where you're taking him now, I mean, it's not a huge risk, but I think the market is actually pricing it kind of well on average, where like if maybe he lands in like the ideal spot like the Jets, like 25% of the time, maybe a quarter of the time he's on a worse team than he was last year, maybe a quarter of the time he's on a neutral team, and then maybe a quarter of the time he retires. Maybe this is kind of a fair price, that 180, 170 range.
Yeah, that's fair. No, and I've looked at that chart before. I haven't seen it
Yeah.
recently though. But I don't know. I guess my thing is I just look at it more from like what he could do in that round. Like if you go
Yeah.
back to the round and you look at all the other guys, there's no other guy going in the 17th round at receiver that I feel like, man, I could put this guy on my lineup and actually maybe get a couple 20-point weeks out of or an 18-point week out of
I would
3 or 4 times a year. Whereas Keenan, I do feel that way about, especially if he is in the right spot. I don't know. Like I said, I have recently
agree.
slowed down on him in the last week because the longer that it goes on, and he could just be doing the veteran thing. I mean, we're in OTAs right now. I think if we get to real training camp and there's still no news on him, that kind of be when I just, all right, I'm out. I'll just eat those 17th round Keenan Allens and hope that he does sign last minute or someone talks him into playing, or maybe the Chargers have an injury and then he plays or something. But if we get to camp and he's still not on a team, then to me he's not necessarily draftable.
I think that's smart. To me, I guess why I don't have as much, but I've taken him a little bit. But why I don't have as much is I typically like to be done with wide receivers by that point where he's getting drafted already. Or else I like to take a really correlated pick, like a bring back or one of the final stacks with like a QB, like a Yoshivas if I have got Burrow or something. But
Mm-hmm.
I think what you said about him being like the highest upside pick receiver in that range is probably true because even last season where he had an off year, yeah, his weekly average was lower, but he was still wide receiver 9 in week 6. He was wide receiver 5, wide receiver 4 back to back weeks in 12 and 13. So, like, wide receiver 14 with a 20-point game in week 15. And yeah, this is PPR scoring, wide receiver 2 in week 16. So, in PPR scoring, but it's close enough. It's just the idea. So, he had a bunch of spike weeks. He just also had a lot of dud weeks. So, I think if he lands somewhere neutral, if he lands somewhere positive, then I think what you're saying is really smart. He will end up going closer to the Thielen range, maybe closer to even Christian Kirk, and people are going to be like,
Hmm.
"Oh yeah, why weren't we just drafting him every single time in round 17?"
And that's kind of my thing because no matter where he goes, I'll probably be done then because that is where I start liking like a lot of the tight ends. That's where I'm generally drafting quarterbacks at. I like a lot of the running back. I like Eckler. I like Garindo there. When we get a little later, I like Allen, Braylon Allen from New York or whatever.
Hmm.
We drafted Leggett. I like Leggett. So there's like other guys that I would then probably prefer, not necessarily at receiver, but other positions. If he did hypothetically move up there, and so I guess yeah, that's kind of why I've been drafting him so far this summer.
No
And
doubt.
I could be wrong.
No, I think he's the one I've been the most back and forth on. We're opposed to Amari Cooper. I've been pretty adamantly out on. I haven't drafted him once
Yeah, I'm
because
with you.
he was playing with he went from the Browns to Josh Allen and he got worse. Yes, he had the wrist injury and maybe that was lagging or that was carrying over into his games when he still came back. But do wrists ever heal? What if he like it's a season later? Is he healed or is the narrative his wrist is just never the same? Because
I'm
he
with you.
fell
I,
off.
I haven't drafted any Cooper.
Cooper fell off really hard. He's the
Yeah,
use case where Allen kind of fell off overall the whole season and on average, but still had some really good games. Wrong Cooper. Um, Amari Cooper, I don't even know if he had any good games. We'll have to look, but he really like he went from 15 to 8, which is even further of a fall off, and then it just didn't feel good. He might have had so he did have a good week early on before the wrist injury. The wrist injury was week I want to say 8. So he had one good game with the Browns, double touchdowns, some nice yards. What happened after that? So after he gets traded to the Bills, he was a top 24 receiver one time in week 14 with just a bunch of yards on a ton of targets and only caught 6 balls. So I mean, he maybe it was the injury, but he really fell off hard after the trade.
well, for giggles, we're gonna say that Mr. Stingley ruined him 2 years ago in the playoffs when he locked him
Yeah,
down, and he's never been the same since.
could be. That could be true, no doubt. Um, so yeah, you mentioned earlier. So you've been a Texans fan, is that right?
Yeah. I think we kind of have opposite. I was talking to you on stream one time. Didn't you grow up out here in Lake Travis? You said.
So I've got some connections there. My parents live out there now, essentially.
Okay.
So and I've been going out there like my whole life on the lake. So I'm out there a good amount. And then, yeah, I lived in Austin for a little bit. I've been in Houston most of my life.
See, I grew up in Houston. Bounced
Mhm.
around a little bit over the last 8 years or so with my wife's job, but we're kind of settled here in Austin now. We live like
Nice.
kind of that southwest corner, Circle C area or whatever.
Nice.
But but yeah, I grew up kind of right over there in the North Shore Channelview area,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah.
lived a lot of my life. Like my parents and all of my dad's side of the family lives down there in like the Texas City, Lamarck area still. So I'm down there every now and then.
No doubt. Yeah, I'd probably make it out to Austin. It just depends now, with everything going on, somewhat harder to travel with young kids, but we still make
I
it out to
feel you.
Austin about once a month. We probably used to go closer to, a little bit, maybe that frequency or a little bit more, but probably now it's, once a month or once every 2 months, pretty frequently.
I don't know how old your kids are, but it gets easier. I had four, and one of them's actually gone and out the house now, and my youngest is going to sixth grade next year. So we're
Nice.
past all the really, really hard toddler stages and
Oh,
all that.
I'm
The
in the midst
kind
of
of
it, but I'm
oh yeah,
enjoying it.
it's.
Yeah.
Well, I have a 11-year-old. One of them's going to sixth grade, the other one's going to eighth grade, and then the other daughter's going to ninth grade. So there was definitely a time in my life when I had like three toddlers and not much free time and stressed out of my mind every day. I feel you, man.
You're a strong guy. You made it through, and I'm sure they're doing great now. So that's very cool. I have a question for you. Do you have a favorite local lunch or dinner spot around you that you either to go to as like a date night spot or would take a friend out to if they come into town? What kind of spots do you like?
Oh man, that's a good question. I guess depending on type of food, there's this one. There's this one pho place called Simply Pho House out here over there in Bee Cave that's really
Nice.
good. I like them a lot. I don't know if it's just me and I want something quick. I'm a big Chipotle guy. I love Chipotle.
Oh, an Austin original, yeah, Chipotle. No, it's cool
but
though. I haven't heard of that pho place, but I know the area, and yeah, I'm always interested to get. So like Houston's a big foodie town. Austin, I think, also has a big food culture as well. So I always like to ask people, what places they like. It's a funny game we play. Like in Houston, I've never asked, almost 90% of the time when I ask someone their favorite restaurant, either it's like the most common or I've never heard of it because there's just so many options. And Houston's just a big city with all these different neighborhoods and subdivisions and everything. It's like
hmm
it's more likely that I've never even heard of it because there's just so many spots.
Oh, Mark in the chat, he's talking about what's the one out here in Austin, man? I can't even think of the name of it right now. Mark's a good buddy of mine. I've known him since we were like in our 20s.
Oh, nice.
Uh,
Appreciate you
um,
hanging out, Mark.
I can't think of the name of it now off the top of my head. The bring your own beer one that's out there in the country
Salt
here
Lick.
in Austin. Salt Lake, that's it, exactly. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Salt Lake and Rudy's. I like me some Rudy's too. I actually been
Oh,
going
I
to
do too.
Rudy's more than Salt Lake lately.
Salt Lick is fun. It's kind of a thing to do. I haven't been there in a little while, but one of my buddies graduated from um, Texas State, and he had his whole family there at his graduation. I was there, and then we all drove out to Salt Lick and spent the whole night at Salt Lick from probably 2 p.m. until whatever time it shut it down. So that's the kind of place it is. It's for family. It's for
Yeah,
big.
yeah, yeah.
That's how I think of it. It's more of an experience kind of place. You sit down there and you don't want to move for 3 or 4 hours. BYOB, all that.
Yeah, no, the atmosphere is definitely unique to it.
Nice. Well, yeah, man. Let's review some of these teams. See what we got going. I think I like the squad we drafted. The way we got Shuck at the end there. Sometimes it just kind of comes together like that, and that's always the best feeling when you don't have to
hmm
force anything, and you have that optionality with your last one or two picks to say, let's just see how it goes, and then everything kind of just landed nicely for us. So I want you to review this team for us and let me know your thoughts.
We got Allen, CJ, and Shuck at quarterback. I do like the Shuck pick the more I think about it because of the 6 and 7 bye week. That ideally we want to get deep into it, and that would be kind of tough. Only having Allen in week 6 and only having CJ in week 7. So it does give us another out. The running back room was Hampton, Walker, Warren, Davis, Eckler, and Dobbins. It's good enough. We mixed up the bye week. Walker and Hampton, I'm definitely super in on. Hopefully, Warren's got some usable weeks for us early, if nothing else. Davis pops in here and there. Eckler could give us some usable weeks even without an injury. That's part of why I like him in the eliminator.
Yeah.
Dobbins, we'll see. I guess it depends on where he goes and how much he plays. Receiver room, that's kind of the strength. We started Puka and Collins. They'll help carry us hopefully a lot. Olave's good. We got Shakir with Allen, Higgins for the double stack. My later round spike week guy Leggett, and then good old eliminator ass pick Darius Slayton. What could go wrong? Tight end room was just Andrews and Johnson. Overall, man, I like the team. I could definitely see it making some noise. We'll see. Got to get out of the first week first, and then it's just who do we match up with, and it's going to be a lot of luck. Let's face it. Last year I think there was definitely probably more strategy involved with just the way it was set up. 6 of
Sure.
10 one week, and 8 of 12 one week, but there's still strategy involved. But like you were saying earlier, you could just have a 90-point week and get beat by somebody with 93, but you could also have a 115-point week and get beat by a 120-point week. So
I can't wait, or I can wait, but I can already tell we're going to be in week 3 or 4 of the eliminator, and we're all going to be losing our teams. We're all going to be losing. I scored 150 and someone scored 170. Like, this head-to-head format sucks. And then I can already see it now. There's going to be the other bros, the very few, the very rare, the lucky ones, who they in week 4 or 5 or whatever are going to be facing a head-to-head against a team whose quarterback went down with an ACL the week before. Oh, Daniel Jones tears an ACL, and your opponent had Daniel Jones, you don't, and then your opponent also has the QB on bye, so they score 60 points and you put up 85 and you advance, and then the rest of us with 140, we get smoked. I can already see it now.
And I don't think people really. That's one reason why I'm going to draft a fair amount of these. I'm not going to max it. I don't know how many I'll enter, but
Sure.
It's going to be somewhere in between 50 and 100 probably when it's all said and done. Because I don't think people realize, one, if you do get some teams moving, exactly how much fun it's going to be each week to look in on them. And two, I mean, you make your money back in week 4. That should tell you right there, like, how many of us is going to just be gone.
No doubt.
Half the field is gone after week 1, and then half of what's left is gone after week 2. So
it's a crazy gauntlet.
25% of the field will be surviving and going into week 3.
Yeah, that's wild. It's so different than the other formats where you just have to get all the way to week 14 and then advance to week 15. It's so different because you could feel pretty good. Oh, for Best Ball Mania, I'm hoping to advance 20 teams or 20, maybe whatever number, 30 teams to week 15, but you might not even have 20 teams by week 3 or 4 of the eliminator. So it's just that different, but I think it's going to be a fun sweat. I'm excited to do a bunch. Don't know if I'll max it just because of timing and other tournaments open and, bankroll management, all the good stuff. But I definitely want to get some volume, and I definitely want to draft them with as many people as possible so that we can be like, hey, look, it's week 13. Hey, remember that team we drafted back on June 5th? It's still alive, and that's going to be just one more fun thing to bring the whole best ball community together, the head-to-heads, and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. The first time Twitter's going to go nuts whenever, like, 2 of the bigger name guys match up with each other in an eliminator, and, yeah, it's going to be fun.
No doubt. The other thing I love about this team, I like the running backs that we kind of got onto, Hampton and Walker. I like how that looks as a start. But then, man, it really looks nice when your second, third, fourth, and fifth wide receivers are all stacked with your QBs because you're just looking for that upside of, can Stroud have a 3-touchdown game and maybe Nico gets 1, maybe Higgins gets 1? Can Shuck and Olave find chemistry right off the bat? If Josh Allen has a giant week, but also Shakir gets 100 yards, that those little things where we're making a one bet and getting twice the payout. I think for an eliminator, you kind of want to simplify things too, which some people have been leaning away from the heavy stacking or like the team stacking. But I almost view it the opposite, where it's like if your team is just all in different directions, you might just be super average and maybe you never hit the right ceilings, consistently, which is what it's going to take to advance in these head-to-heads.
I'm not going to lie. My first few that I drafted, I was definitely kind of leaning that more. But I think the more I've thought about this tournament and the more that I've been drafting it, I have definitely started being more open to like we did too. I mean, yes, Nico was our first round pick or our second round pick, but he's a stud. And then, okay, we got CJ, even a little past ADP. Higgins doesn't go. We're not investing a lot for the double. Like I definitely wouldn't do the Chase Higgins-Burrow thing in the eliminator. Yeah. I've not been that into that myself this year in the regular format even. But, if some of the pieces to that double stack are later, I don't think there's any problem with it at all the more that I think about it. Because you're right. It's not the old style, your grandpa's eliminator or whatever, where you're just trying to be 50%. You are trying to be 50%, but it's just a coin flip against another team. So you're going to really, especially as you go on and on, you're going to be playing against other teams that got to that point. So, you're going to want a team that can put up some pretty good point totals every week. And I definitely think that is a good way to go about it, having some sort of team correlation still.
That's pretty much what I'm thinking. And we didn't force the correlation. Like you said, we got Nico out of value. We got Stroud out of value. We took Higgins at ADP. And we spread out our draft capital on the Texans. We got 3 Texans pieces. It's not overboard out of 18 picks. And we have 1 early, one in the middle, and then one kind of in the back end of the middle late with Stroud. So it's not like,
Mm-hmm.
you're right, it's not like we took Chase, T, and Burrow, where uh, half of our front end draft capital is all one bet. We really spread this one out, and so I think that also helps, makes me feel better about it. And then the Olave coming together with Juwan Johnson, coming together with Shuck. So our two last picks being Shuck and Juwan Johnson,
Yeah, I mean
that
that's so
further
late.
improves our Olave bet by a good amount, I think.
And with the Texans double too, one thing about this particular build here is like we took Allen in the third round, so like really we're counting on him to hit our lineup as a quarterback anyways. So like there's probably is going to be a lot of weeks where Allen outscores CJ, but whichever one of those two outside receivers out of maybe the week Nico doesn't have that great a game, it's because Higgins had a really great game. But then the week that CJ and both of them go off, all right, that's just even better. But we're not really counting on it, Like, I guess I'd be a little more worried if CJ doubled was our first quarterback,
Yeah.
and we're kind of counting on his points. Whereas having Allen, it's almost like we can wait for CJ to have the blow up weeks and be all right still because we got Allen.
I like that because Allen should hit our lineup almost every single week. It would take a lot for Stroud to outscore him, we'd hope, based on the way we, drafted him. But then again, Collins and Higgins can still hit the lineup without Stroud. So I think
Yeah,
this
that's,
is the
that's
way to play it.
I like it.
Let's see. Huhames wants to know where I have in my ranks Pearsall, and this is just my Best Ball Mania ranks. Let me do this. Pearsall is... I moved him back up to 86, but also my Excel rankings or my Google Sheet rankings are outdated by about 24 hours. I might have moved him back a little bit further, but I had him ranked 100 at one point. I moved him back up to 86 because I was probably correlating him with Purdy a little bit more or Christian McCaffrey teams. But generally, yeah, I'm not really excited about Pearsall before pick 86 to like 90 range, maybe even past that, because I do like the rookies. I might just take Jayden Higgins over Pearsall, straight up. I might take Egbuka over Pearsall straight up. Even though the Bucks, they do have a lot of different targets to address, I think Egbuka just is very talented. Like I think Emeka Egbuka is a much better prospect than Ricky Pearsall. Just I think he's a way higher caliber player. Just me.
Yeah, I have a hard time with Pearsall too. I might have him on one or two teams, but it's not much. And if I do, it's with Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, this says I've got him in 2 Best Ball Manias, but I know for a fact one of those was with Meg. She got me to draft Pearsall when we did the Best Ball Mania together, and I let the guest, make about 90% of the picks at least.
Yeah.
And then the other one, I don't know, but I almost guarantee it was with someone else who also would have convinced me to do it, because I don't really do it on my own. At least for Best Ball Mania too. I mean, it sounds crazy to spend that much draft capital on a player that's such a thin bet. But yeah, let's take a quick look through. Let's see what Gritty ended up doing. He did a 3.573. I'll go through it pretty quickly, but appreciate you drafting with us, Mike. Hope you're having a great Thursday night. Always good to see you stopping by, brother. And he did the 3.573 with Murray. He had Marvin Harrison. He's got Prescott with Pickens, and then Caleb Williams. Maybe he just took the value there because he got him about 10 picks past ADP. I don't know if I saw any Bears on this squad. Super late running back, so he really goes with a true zero running back build.
That's going to be tough.
You love to see it. I mean, this is wild. What would it take for this team to be the team you need? I mean, maybe Marshawn Lloyd comes on and gets some work. Jalen Wright, kind of the same thing. Braylon Allen, kind of the same thing. Bigsby wins the backfield, and then Charbonnet is in a true timeshare. But I think it's a bold stance. But look how good these receivers are. I mean, these are super elite through those first 6 picks. Hard to beat that.
Yeah, but I don't know, in the eliminator format, it's gonna be hard to. If he gets out the first round, unless he gets real lucky with those running backs, it's gonna be hard, I think, to get pretty far with that team. It's not a team I would want to build for an eliminator myself, but
I can see how you'd want to mix in some different team builds, some different strategies, because the one thing he's got going for him, I mean, any of these receivers could be the wide receiver one in a given week, pretty much all the way through Addison. So he really could just be dominating from this position group that carries his team week in, week out, and then he just needs a couple running backs to hit. But I get what you're saying. It's not very balanced, but I think that's what he's going for, is about as unbalanced as you can get. He does the late stack with Cole Kmet and Caleb Williams. I think that's kind of a interesting play. There's only a few teams we've ever drafted two tight ends from over the last 3 or 4 years in best ball. The current and last year's Ravens. There was the year where people were still taking Knox with Kincaid. And then outside of that, I mean, there's not too many others. Can you think of any other like tight end pairs? Pretty rare stuff.
Yeah. I mean, no, not really. I do remember some people were still willing to tack Knox on Kincaid's rookie year, which I know Gritty is kind of known for. I'm still learning, the underdog world. This is the first year that I've really been heavy over here. We earned our black badge on stream the other night, so we're not a total rookie anymore. But I do know that I'm on Twitter enough that I'm pretty familiar that Gritty drafts, some very unique styles and builds and stuff.
He's evolving. He made a lot of strong stands in his Best Ball Mania teams over the last couple years. Notoriously last year, I think. Maybe it was the year before, but I think it was last year. And then and this year, I've seen a lot. I follow him on Twitter. I've seen a lot of his teams come out looking different. So he's going for some extreme builds, which is kind of fun because you want that top 1 percentile, or like that 99th percentile, I guess you would say, outcome. So sometimes it takes getting real different. I don't hate it.
Yeah,
Nick
exactly.
Hawk goes with the 3.573. He was chilling with us earlier. Appreciate Nick being here as always. Love seeing him in the chat too. Fields, Geno Smith, and Daniel Jones. I think he's taking advantage of the recent news with Anthony Richardson. I did move Daniel Jones up considerably in my ranks, where I wasn't really drafting him, maybe very rarely, or if at all. But now I think he becomes a little bit more viable with the Anthony Richardson shoulder stuff. That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, I told you. I purposely were on my phone today when I had some time to kill. One of my daughter's things had drafted a super flex team and purposely took Daniel Jones with just some other gross quarterbacks, just kind of hoping to get lucky because the team turned out. Everything else about the team was amazingly strong if I can get lucky at the quarterback. But my whole thing going into it was purposely, I was like, all right, it was just like 2 hours after the news came out, and I was like, I'm going to draft a team and I'm really going to push quarterback. And let me go pull it up over on my other thing real quick here.
Yeah,
so his ADP today in Superflex was still at 114, and I took him at 86 just because I figured it won't take long for him to get above that. But for this particular team, I had to have him because I was from the 11 hole, and I started with JJ and Lamb. I double tapped those two. And then I also got some good running backs. We got Cook, we got Hampton, we got Judkins, we got Mason, Shipley, and Dobbins at running back. The receivers are JJ, Lamb, Golden, Downs, Pat Bryant, Keenan Allen, and Adonai Mitchell. I got Brock at tight end, and then I tacked on Likely late.
Okay.
Sounds really good until I call out the quarterbacks. I got McCarthy paired with JJ, and then Daniel Jones I'm counting on to be the number 2. And then I just took backups that I think have upside potential. I also have Jalen Milroe, Kirk Cousins, and Marcus Mariota was my last pick. So it needs some help.
I've heard Huhames and some others really tout the Marcus Mariota pick. I also think the Kirk Cousins pick's probably pretty smart. What do you think about Aaron Rodgers? Where does he go in Superflex now? He's got to jump up big, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I forget where exactly he was going. Um, I'm sure he'll jump up some. I'm still on that team. Let me see. Where did he go today? He went in the 10th round. He'll move up a little bit, you know. I can see him when you get in the 70s. That's where Shuck goes.
Oh, he'll go
I
way
can
ahead of
see him.
that, I think.
I can see him in like the 6th round. Because if you get to the 5th round, you still have like Cam Ward's in the 5th generally, and Sam Darnold, which I'm not going to draft any Sam Darnold. I do not think Sam Darnold is good. Think that's going to go bad. And that's
Right.
kind of been, especially in Superflex and when I was drafting over on DraftKings to start the year before I really started my streaming and decided to just jump, full into the underdog world.
Yeah.
There, if you look at Seattle's schedule, it's really tough the first 7 weeks of the season. It ends in week 7 against the Texans, which I think their defense is going to be really strong, if nothing else, this year. And I could see a world where they're very easily looking at their schedule, 2-5. Darnold's playing outdoors now. He's not playing in a dome. We know what
Right.
happened last time he played outdoors in New York. He doesn't have Justin Jefferson anymore. Say what you want about JSN. He's nowhere near Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
O'Connell's an amazing play caller who's made any quarterback he's had, even old Dobbs, he had looking pretty damn good there for a little bit in desperation.
True.
So I could very easily see a world where they're like, say, 2-5 going into their week 8 bye, and the fans are all, kind of pushing for the rookie, and they're like, we're high on Milroe. We drafted him for a reason. Let's put him in there and see what he's got.
I don't disagree. I wonder because how soon does Sam Darnold turn back into a pumpkin? It was definitely a product of the Kevin O'Connell system. Being on the Vikings, all those weapons around him, that really solid team. I wonder if it ends up going to Milroe. I think he's electric. We saw what he could do against Georgia last year. That was pretty impressive in that one game. I think that one game alone pretty much got him drafted where he went, and made a big impression on those NFL coaches and scouts. But then I'm pretty sure isn't who is it? But after Sam Darnold, there is God, what's his name? The other Seattle quarterback.
I think Drew Luck is still there.
Drew Lock's still there, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
and what up, Crossface? How you doing, brother? Hope you're having a great Thursday night. Thanks for stopping by. Drew Lock was the one where it's like maybe they give Drew Lock some run. Maybe they go to Milroe. I don't know if Milroe is the guy that has. I haven't heard this yet, but I actually am curious. I wonder how many snaps he took under center in college. And then, that's something that I've started to think about because you have a guy like Shuck who tons of snaps. You have a guy like Anthony Richardson, no snaps, right? And so there's like a huge experience difference just coming into the NFL for certain different players. I think Milroe only started, was it like a year and a half, or did he start 2 years at Alabama? I don't remember.
Let me pull them up real quick.
Because I'm curious.
I know
about
he
that.
was the starter last year. I'm pretty
Definitely
sure.
was the starter last year.
I mean, like the year before, at least part of that year.
Yeah,
I don't
mean,
know
he's
if
been
it was
around
a
for
full
little
year. I
while,
don't
right?
follow college as much.
Right. What up,
Sorry
Aunt
about
Paul?
that.
How you doing? And sorry, Nick Block, we forgot to finish your team out. If you're still here, we'll finish it if you want.
Yeah, I mean, he had 284 pass attempts in 2003, so almost as many as he had last year. 65% completion for 2,800 yards. But let's face it, we're not really drafting him for what he's going to do with his arm much anyways.
No doubt.
You know, even in 2023, he had 500 rushing yards with 12 touchdowns. Then
Yeah.
backed it up in 2024 with 726 for 20 touchdowns on the ground.
Incredible.
I don't know. And in 2023, you know, we always talk about how coaches and stuff can influence. In 2023, this was one thing I remember seeing when I was first looking into him this year, when I was kind of feeling like I wanted to make this stand against Darnold. So he threw for 65% completion, 2,800 yards, and he actually had 23 touchdowns and only 6 interceptions in 2023, which that's when Saban was still there with a whole different coaching scheme and stuff. I don't know. I mean, is there a world when the guy comes in and he's better than Anthony Richardson throwing? And I mean, when
Oh
you
yeah.
watch him run, he runs the ball like so naturally, almost like a running back. And I mean, he's 6'2", 216. He's not, like fragile or anything.
Oh
He's
yeah.
thick. I don't know.
I think he's very intriguing, especially for the Superflex drafts. And yeah, that one game against Georgia, that's all I had to see to be convinced that, he could be great for fantasy and definitely a fun player to watch too. What up, Vape? How you doing, brother? Daniel Jones never had good O line. I guess that could change. It sounds like the Colts have a decent O line. I think, right? It's not like one of their weaknesses.
No, it's pretty good.
They're pretty
I don't
good,
know
right?
how it rates out in anything, but just eye test and watching a lot of football, it's pretty good.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, Jonathan Taylor had a bunch of good games. Of course, he's talented, but it takes two to tango kind of situation. You got to have the good line
Mm-hmm.
and the good running back, or even just a decent running back. Like, the Broncos running backs, they all underwhelmed last season with like the best run blocking line. So, uh, you would think, there's some hope. The Daniel Jones pick is pretty interesting. I think he rises a lot in Superflex, and then in general, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to rise a lot. One thing I looked into earlier today, really like random fact, but Aaron Rodgers had more passing touchdowns last season than Mahomes, than Herbert, than Jaden Daniels. He had just as many as Josh Allen did. So like
Hmm.
something he was number two in passing attempts, and he was like number 7 or 8 in completions, and right around, or maybe even lower. But he was like number 7 or 8 in yards. Like, I mean, he's not completely washed, and I think part of it is just a little bit of the Travis Kelce effect, where it's like if you're constantly in the news and the media, people get sick of you. Aaron Rodgers is like a similar thing. He's constantly in the news and media. He's never making himself look good to probably half the country, if not more. And so
Mm-hmm.
people get sick of him, but I mean, he put up some numbers. So if you're staying a little bit unbiased and you just want to draft for fantasy, I don't think it's the worst pick. I famously, I say famous, but really just for my own sake, I was out on Aaron Rodgers a few seasons ago. So like 2023, I didn't take a single Aaron Rodgers team, and I just got lucky because he tore the Achilles
First
for
play.
the Jets. But I just thought he was washed then. But I've kind of learned my lesson. You really can't, at least I can't predict when players are going to stop producing. They're, the age cliff or changing teams at a certain age. Rodgers is a multi-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer in the future. All of these things, there's no way we can compare him to anyone else historically. He's a one of one. So like maybe he's
Mm-hmm.
got one more season left in him. We saw Tom Brady kind of do it till the end, right?
Yeah. No, I'll probably take him some now. Assuming Metcalf and them don't move up too much. I like Metcalf and I like Ferguson where they're at now. If they move up a lot, then
Yeah,
maybe I might not end up with a lot of Rodgers or much Rodgers. I haven't been taking Rodgers really at all lately or
me too.
in general this year just because he was one I was really unsure. Like, he was on Rogan talking about some weird stuff like he always does a couple weeks ago. Like,
No
he
doubt.
didn't really seem like he was super into playing football again. So I kind of wanted to wait and see with him.
And the only thing I do know is that he has missed seasons with injuries, the collarbone. He had, of course, the Achilles. And you and I both know every year we get older, the injuries take longer to recover from. They start to pile up, things. So maybe it's not even in his control. Maybe he just can't hold it together physically one more season. So I was kind of in that mindset. I hadn't drafted him at all yet. I think I'm going to sprinkle in some Aaron Rodgers, especially on those DK teams. maybe on teams where I need a late quarterback, and we'll see where he goes. But I have a hunch he's going to start rising into a range where we're going to be pretty uncomfortable drafting him unless it's the perfect situation. Because I think he's gonna. I think he's. There's no way we're going to be able to get him where he's been going again.
Yeah, you're probably right. I probably will end up with not that much of him for that reason.
I think so too. What up, Disbanded? Thanks for stopping in, brother. Previously, now we have some time. Yep. Now he'll have some time. Yeah, I guess. I guess that's true. Only out for Milrow this year is if, and that was about Daniel Jones. For Milrow this year is if Clint Kubiak uses him as Taysom Hill. That's pretty funny. A-Rod, what's up, my man? The Jets sucked. Rodgers didn't. That's probably not wrong. Should we be more concerned about Justin Fields then? Because I'm all in on Justin Fields. And then shout out to the Swifties. A-Rod, a big Taylor Swift fan. I'm sure JT, if I had to go out on a limb, there's probably some Taylor Swift, bumping in your car and on your radio and in your house at all times. So
I always joke around that Who Hames is my savior because he always comes on at 4, which during the school year was right when I'm taking people to soccer or picking somebody up from school. And yes, 2 of my daughters love Taylor Swift, so I would always put one of my earbuds in and kick Who Hames on my phone and just set my phone down in the little, console or whatever and listen to Who Hames instead of Taylor while I was driving around after school.
That's hilarious. I heard you say that previously. I thought that was so funny. Typical DGen behavior, just listening to a basketball stream to block out the Taylor Swift. I mean, you're in the community. You're a baseball bro. That does it. That's how you know. Sticking to the for sure as QB goes for the most part. Sticking to the for sure. Oh, the
not taking
QBs
chances.
Sure. Dabble here and there, not much though. Yeah, hook 'em. Got the horns up. Hook 'em, baby. This band, and you just love it on the horns, or I don't know if you've mentioned this before. Are you also disbanded? Are you a Horns fan? And then, so I mean, JT, you're in Austin. It kind of rubs off. Everyone gets into Saturdays and the game. The game day atmosphere. Have you made it out to any games? Have you been hooking them lately?
I haven't went to any Longhorn football games. The tickets are just so much, and
Ever
we
since
always have soccer going on.
Sarkeesian and Arch, the ticket prices have been ridiculous.
It's so hard to get. But, it's funny, even growing up in Houston,
yeah.
I was always a Longhorn fan.
Yeah.
That was just back then when I was a kid. I watched more college sports than I do now.
Nice.
What's really cheap and a lot of fun to go to though here is having daughters and stuff. And my wife, we actually went to about 2 or 3 of the UT women basketball games. Because they're really good too. And the Moody Center, they built that thing pretty nice. There's not a bad seat in the house, and it gets nice and loud in there. And this year they raised the prices, but like last year you could go and pay like $9 for general admission and just show up when the doors open and essentially be in the front row for like $9 or $12 or something like that. You couldn't beat it.
I think that's a really, really sharp, great idea, family fun, great price, good value, great experience. My grandfather was a huge college women's basketball fan. He just that was like what he leaned into because he felt like he could be more involved with supporting his local college women's team than with any of the other sports. And so he was like kind of in his later years, he was, season ticket holder, and he would go to the games, and you get to know the players and all that kind of stuff. And so when I would visit with him, he would take me to those women's college basketball games. And that's how I kind of got onto that. But I would 100% agree with you. It's like you get the whole experience that you would get at a lot of the other sporting events, but it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah, for sure. It is. It's a lot of fun.
No doubt. Yeah. I haven't been to an Austin FC soccer game yet, but some of my buddies that still live out there, they wear the shirts and they think it's fun. They like to go. Say it's a good time. So that's kind of on my to-do list. And then
I hear that too. I always joke with people though that between my 2 daughters that play club soccer, I'm at the damn soccer field so much. If one of them isn't playing, I have no interest in watching another soccer
I can
game.
see that.
I'm
You
at
watch
the
a lot of
practice
soccer.
field about 4 nights a week and 2 games on the weekend normally, so I'm soccered out.
I totally get that. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, man. Well, man, we did it. We drafted this Elam. Make sure if y'all just stopping in, make sure you hit the like. We drafted this 30-second Elam. We'll do a quick one last look through. It's a 3.672 to Josh Allen and CJ Stroud and Tyler Shuck all stacked up. Love to see it. The running back room looking real strong as well. Got some rookies, got some veterans, got J.K. Dobbins for some upside. Maybe he goes to the Broncos, we thought. And then the wide receivers, kind of the strong point. We got 4 of our top 5 receivers stacked up, looking real good. Mark Andrews can't go wrong. Jawan Johnson, always a value. I think I've been taking a lot of Jawan Johnson. So that's how we built this one. We'll be trying to advance this eliminator. And who knows, maybe if we get this thing all the way to the finals, it pays off at some point. We can
Hopefully.
get some pho in the B Caves area. Maybe we'll get some Tex-Mex or some margs to celebrate. Who knows? But yeah, man, super fun having you on the stream, draft with you, getting to know you a little bit better. We'll do it again real soon. And good luck in these streets and these tournaments. And let the people know. Keep up. Let them know where they can keep up with you on your Twitter. I've got the Twitter and the YouTube in the descriptions, but let them know what you got going on.
Yeah, it's just a JT Best Ball on Twitter and on YouTube. Pretty much every night, Monday through Friday, I'm on. I normally start around 9:30, 10, something like that. I'm actually going to hop on when we get off of here and just do a quick eliminator tonight, just because being new and all, I'm trying to not miss any nights. Saturday nights I take off. Sundays kind of hit or miss depending on what we got going on with the family. Real quick, I'll message you in a week or so when I get ready to start lining it out. But before I go on vacation, June 20th, it's like a Friday. I'm trying to put together a little thing, man. I'm going to do like a 6-hour deal, and the plan is to try to have, someone on each hour for a BBM, like kind of 6 BBMs in a row or whatever. And you definitely got an invite. I'll work out a time with you that's good for you that Friday night or whatever. And yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun. I'm gonna be in Chicago that next week, and I don't know. I'm gonna try to take some of the basic stuff and maybe stream once or twice while I'm in Chicago. We got an Airbnb, so
I got some
should have pretty
coming
decent.
Up too, later in June and some in July and some stuff. So it becomes tough, but it's always good to get a little break too. But like you said, you got to keep the channel live, got to keep the grind going. But yeah, man, fun stuff. I've enjoyed dropping into your streams when I can make it. And like I said, I'd love to come on your channel as well and draft PBM with you. And we'll do it again here real soon. Appreciate y'all.
For sure.
And that's it for tonight. Kind of, I mean, we did. We ended up going live for about 2 hours. It's pretty nice. But we made that one team in here. I got to get some rest. I'm feeling a little under the weather, but I'll be back soon. I think I'm going to go live again tomorrow night and all weekend. Got some things cooking up. I think Hartman is going to be on drafting with me on Saturday night. Is he coming on? Are you drafting with
Hartman's going to be on my channel tomorrow night too.
Hell
so
yeah.
Kind of back to back. Hartman's a good dude, man. He's really sharp. Great. He was actually the first person that I brought on. Period. Like whenever because I've only been streaming about a month. I started like in May.
What up,
Hartman was the first, and then Hu Hames was the second person that I did something with.
Yeah. Hartman's the G. We got Steve in here. This band is a G. Now I know that you're from Austin. I love him even more. And then Mark, nice to meet you, buddy. Thanks for jumping in here. Yeah, that Hartman guy is so sharp. he's sharp, but not sharp enough to win Jeopardy. I'll tell you that much.
Ooh, hey, you were on it with those bye-week maths, man.
Yeah, going to math camp it pays off.
That was impressive. I'm not gonna lie.
I'll have to. I can't let it. Eventually, there'll be more bye-week math. I got to live up to the expectation now, so I'm now even more nervous about it. But I saw some of the bye-week math that they had last night when Tyler and Tyler were doing the Jeopardy, and I got them all right. I will say that.
Nice. Well, you go, man. Because it's like a tournament or whatever, right? Like you get to do it
Yeah.
again since you won or whatever. Nice. Well, good luck whenever it is.
Harmon guy didn't stack his Nico earlier. Ooh, not so sharp. Oh. Yeah, this band, that's cool that you're from Austin. That's good to know. I mean, I'm always wearing my Longhorn hat. Always repping. I'm living in Austin in my heart and in my mind, but in my physical body, I'm in the tropics in Houston surviving hurricanes. So good. But yeah, man, JT, great times as always. Appreciate y'all being here in the chat. Make sure you slap the like on the way out. Make sure you're following JT's channel and on Twitter in the description. And we'll catch y'all another time real soon. Let's kick it to the outro.